right, now look, today we finna make ourselves some lamb chops. Now look, I'm not really one that actually likes to really mess around with too much lamb. I'm not a big gamey meat eater. So the only way that I can eat lamb chops or really any type of gamey meat is if I make it, because I have a very specific way that I have to marinate it in order for me to be able to enjoy it. Now, there's going to be a particular step that I'm going to be doing in this recipe that you can choose to skip if you don't mind the gamey flavor. Okay, so just keep that in mind. You don't have to follow every single step, but for those of you that are just making your way into the world of lamb chops or don't really know how you feel about like gamey meats and stuff, I would say follow it the way I'm about to do it today, because it's really the only way that I can enjoy it. So I picked me up a lamb rack, because I actually find that it actually tastes better when you just break them down yourselves versus if you get them already kind of chopped up. So we got that. You're also going to need some buttermilk. Now, again, this is the step that you can skip if you do not mind your food being super gamey. Again, it's not for me, so I'll tell you why we're going to be using that in just a few seconds. For the seasoning, I'm going to be using the steak blend from Kinder's. I'm also going to be using the buttery poultry blend from Kinder's. Now, to top it off, I'm going to be going in with this Tari Amarillo Peruvian everything sauce. My uncle let me try this as a little sauce packet when I was up in New York last week, and I was obsessed with it. And something is telling me that me topping my lamb chops off of this is going to be absolutely stellar. We're also going to need some fresh parsley. And then the second part of my marinating process for these lamb chops, I'll be using my epis. Now, this is a Haitian green seasoning. You guys have already seen how I made this, and if you've not, just scroll back a couple of videos and you'll see the recipe. I'm going to be marinating them in this as well. This is going to give it great flavor. So let's go ahead and get into it, child. And don't ask me for no damn ingredient list. Come on. Alrighty, so as you can see, I have a beautiful rack of lamb here. Now, to be quite honest, the fat cap on this is actually not that bad. So I actually might not even bother with taking this off because it's actually relatively thin. So I'm actually not mad about it. They did a really good job with that. This is really the only part of the meat itself that you're going to be eating, this like bottom half right about here. But I just wanted to point this out. When you're going to go cut your lamb chops, do not base it off of the top right here. You actually want to base it off of where you see the bones here. So you're going to figure out where that little gap is, where you see it moving like that. And that's where you're going to make sure that you cut. So that way you make sure that you have even pieces. So let me go on ahead and let me break this bad boy down. I'm just going to go in and I'm going to look for my bone right there. And that way I'll be able to just go straight through. And then I end up with a perfectly cut chop. And that's exactly what you want. So I'm going to go in now and I'm going to repeat that process for all of these bad boys. And so I've now broken down my rack of lamb into individual lamb chops. And like I said, as you can see, the fat cap on this is actually not that thick. So I'm not mad about that. And sometimes when you get them, they're super, super thick. So you kind of got to trim it down. But I'm actually not mad about this. I think that this actually looks really, really nice the way that it is. So I'm not going to stress myself out about that. Now let's get these into a bowl. Now, as I said, for me, in order for me to be able to enjoy eating lamb of any kind, I have got to make sure that I soak my lamb in buttermilk. Now, by using buttermilk, that is going to help get rid of that super, super gamey flavor. If you are a game meat lover and you don't mind that flavor, then by all means, you can just skip this particular step and then you can pick up from the next steps. But for me, I have got to make sure that I do this because it's going to be the only way that I'll be able to enjoy it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cover this up in some buttermilk, and then I'm going to place the lid on this and put this in the refrigerator for 1 hour. We're going to do 1 hour in the buttermilk, and then we'll come back when this is all ready to go. And while we're waiting for everything to marinate, we can go on ahead and make our spice blend. So this is just how I like to do it. You can just choose to use one or the other, or honestly, whatever spices you like. But this is the combination that I have found in testing out recipes that I'm enjoying. So what I like to do is I do 2 tablespoons of the buttery poultry blend, add that to the bowl. And then I also like to add in 2 tablespoons of the steak blend, like so, directly to the bowl. And then I go in with a 1/2 tablespoon of some black peppercorn. Do it just like that. Then I have everything in there, put the lid on it, give her a nice little shimmy, shimmy, shake, 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 boom, boom, pow. And then my spice blend is ready to go. And this is going to be the spice blend that I'm going to put on the chops before I actually cook them. So that's kind of how I like to do it. And now you can put the lid on this, set it to the side, because that's all we're going to need. Now, of course, if you're going to make 2 to 3 whole racks of lamb, then you'll need to make sure that you adjust this accordingly. But this is enough for right now. And as you can see, I've not added in any additional salt because both of these have enough salt as is. It has now been an hour since I've had my chops soaking in the buttermilk. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to place these on a rack here, just so I can allow some of that buttermilk to kind of drip off a bit. And then I'm going to rinse out this bowl, and then I'm going to place these back in the bowl so that we can then do the second part of the marinating process. Now, marinating these in total is only 4 hours. So it really is not that long. Most recipes, when you're marinating pork chops, you're going to be marinating them for minimum 4 hours, sometimes even 8 hours, depending on what the marination itself is. So don't think that this is like some super dramatic way of marinating lamb chops. Typically, you're going to be marinating them for almost 4 hours anyway. I'm just breaking mine up into 2 different parts because, again, the buttermilk kind of helps remove some of that bloody, gamey flavor that I just simply do not enjoy. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this up, and then when I come back, this bowl will be rinsed out, and then we can add them back into the bowl so that we can add the eppies to it. I'm now going to go on ahead and go in and add in about 2 heaping spoonfuls of the eppies. Now, there's no right or wrong amount of this. You just want to make sure that you have enough so that it's covering everything up completely. And now with my gloves, I'm just going to go in and I'm going to make sure that this meat is completely covered up in this green seasoning. And you can imagine how incredible it already smells in this house. And these haven't been cooked. They don't even have any of the other seasoning on it. And with that little bit of buttermilk that was residual on there, it's just going to continue to allow these to marinate. And that's exactly what you want. This is going to impart a lot of flavor on these bad boys. I'm going to let these marinate for about 3 hours, and then I'll make sure I kind of go in, keep giving them a little mix around every now and then. But this is what they will look like with the eppies on them. This is what you want them to look like. Fully marinated, coated in all of that deliciousness. I'm going to place the lid on this bad boy, put it in the refrigerator, and set the timer for 3 hours, periodically giving it a nice little mix around. All right, y'all. So these bad boys have been marinating for 4 hours in total. 1 hour in the buttermilk, and then the last 3 hours in the eppies. Now, the reason why I'm placing these on this wire rack right now is not only so that some of the eppies can kind of drain off, but also remember, I always say you never want to take extremely cold meat out of the refrigerator and then place it directly into a hot surface. It's going to cause the meat to seize up, and then it's going to become really tough, so you don't want to do that. So while this is draining off, it's also going to allow these to come up to room temperature, which is exactly what I want it to do. So I'm going to let these sit for maybe about 5-10 minutes or so, and then we will come back, and then we can go on ahead and put the seasoning on them and then cook these bad boys up. But tell me, these don't look absolutely incredible. I mean, come on. Just from the marinade alone, you can tell that these are about to be fire. Now, if you wanted to, you could cook these on the grill. I'm not doing all that today. I'm cooking these right on the stovetop. But these on the grill, baby. Now, before I begin seasoning these, I'm going to go on ahead and pat them down a little bit. I'm not trying to wipe them, completely dry. I just want to pat down some of the excess liquid. I've already done this top side. Now, this is also going to make sure that the seasoning itself sticks to this and that it doesn't just all fall off when we put it in the heat. So I'm just going to pat all of them down. Alrighty, so now that I have these nice and pat down, I'm going to go in and I'm going to start to put the seasoning on them. I'm not reusing the seasoning for anything else, so don't go freaking out about me putting my hand, back in the seasoning thing. And I'm just going to go in with the dusting on each side, just like so. Now, I bought this whole rack of lamb for, what was it? I think it said $23 at the beginning of the video or something like that. Child, you be going to these restaurants and they be charging you damn near $23 for just 3 of these things. And I just think that's absolutely insane. So now that I got that done, I'm going to flip it over and I'm just going to repeat this process. And to make sure that I'm also getting this side done, I just go in and I just dip it right on in so that I have a nice crust on all sides. We want to make sure that all the surfaces. So this right here is what you want it to look like. You want to make sure that everything is fully seasoned. All of the sides, If you see a little bare spot like that, that's totally fine, honey. Just dip her right on up in that seasoning, just like that. And then you have yourself a perfectly seasoned, perfectly marinated lamb chop. Alrighty, y'all. So like I said, today I'm going to be preparing mine in my cast iron skillet. You can grill them, you can bake them. That's completely up to you. And when it comes down to the wellness, like as far as how well you want them cooked, that really is up to you. Some people like them medium rare. Some people like them, medium. Some people like them well done. That's completely up to you. I'm not going to get into that. Y'all do what you want when it comes to that, because I don't do the bloody food. I like my stuff kind of cooked through. But again, you cook them how you see fit. I'm going to be cooking my lamb chops 3 at a time because I don't want them to steam. And again, as far as the doneness, that really depends on you. I'm going to allow them to cook on each side roughly about 2.5 to 3 minutes per side. Alrighty, these bad boys are nice and done. This is exactly how I like for mine to look. I don't like to cook them any longer than this because, again, I don't want them tough. But that's what you want your lamb chops to look like. Look at that delicious, the epis, the seasoning. So now I'm just going to sit this to the side and allow that to rest. And I'm going to repeat this process for all of the chops. And now I'm going to go in and I'm just going to top it off with just a little bit of this sauce just right across the top. Just like that. Just like that. With a little bit of the fresh parsley. Boom, boom, pow. And that, my friends, is a lamb chop. I think it's time we go in for a taste test, shall we? All right, y'all. Let's go in and let's taste this lamb chop. Here we go. Now, wait a damn minute. Wait a minute. Do y'all see how soft the meat is? Wow. Hey! I did that. And the sauce, this sauce right here, yeah, the sauce is spot on with it. Oh, yeah! Oh, yeah. Bruh. I went in, topped it off with a little bit of some flaky salt. When I tell you this bitch is tender, it literally just melts in your mouth. It is cooked to perfection. Oh, yeah, baby.